Word had spread all around Palestine about Yeshua's healing powers. And so it was that when he and the disciples came to the pool to refresh themselves, there were some of the afflicted who recognized him and pressed upon him to heal them. Indeed, when we arrived, a multitude of people, rich and poor alike, were waiting their turn to be seen and touched by Yeshua and by his beloved Mary, whose presence stirred their souls as if they were touched by an angel of healing herself. Just imagine what the energy would be like being around these people. I mean, I've heard of people in India and these incredible beings that are just so highly spiritual that you can just feel the energy emanating off of them. I can imagine that's what that Yeshua and Mary and Anna and all of them would be like. Hi, and welcome back to Empowered Spirit Healing. Last episode was a pretty exciting episode. Lots happened. I didn't realize when I was reading through the chapters, I just got so into it that I didn't realize it was like an hour and 40 minutes. So, but let me know what you think. I mean, some people might actually prefer the longer episodes so that we're getting through more of the chapters. And some people might prefer it just really to be around about an hour. So do let me know what your thoughts are about that, because I'm happy to do longer episodes if people would prefer that, or if people prefer the shorter to about 45 minutes to an hour, just let me know. But wow, that was a pretty incredible episode. I mean, we went through the incredible powers of the Great Pyramid, learning all about the initiations and how they did it. And we learned about John the Baptist, what he was really like, and how he kind of came out of being a bit of a hermit and, got his act together and got onto a real mission. So that was fascinating. And then we got to learn about how Jesus' mother remarried, and then Mary Magdalene and Jesus, Yeshua, got married. So that was lovely as well. And then hearing about some of the experiences that he had, some of the miracles that he performed was really, really awesome. So I really loved that episode. I hope that you loved it as much as I did. And now we're going to continue on. We are up to chapter 35, the power of Yeshua's healing. I will begin our sharing about Yeshua's healing practices by telling you how Yeshua assisted my great-grandson Benjamin, Miriam and Nathaniel's son, to heal his body that was born with a club foot and often shook with palsy. It was after the baptism at Bethbarah and their 40-day ordeal fasting in the desert that Yeshua and Mary Magdalene came to Mount Carmel to receive counsel from the elders of our community, including me. It was an unusually warm autumn evening that Yeshua sought out Benjamin. Yeshua found him lying on his pallet on the roof of the men's dormitory, gazing at the stars overhead. This is the story that Benjamin, who was delighted to receive attention from the one he had looked up to as a hero throughout his young life, told me. Lying down beside Benjamin, Yeshua held his crippled hands as they continued to gaze rapturously into the starlit night. The moon had not yet risen. Gradually, Benjamin's breath began to soften and deepen. As his mind stilled, his book of life opened to his inner sight. He witnessed many lifetimes passing before him with all the errors for which he had not forgiven himself. He saw how he had shaken tight fists and kicked and thrown himself at perceived enemies, cursing them to hell. He observed all manners of familiar patterns that he had still repeated over and over. Even though his intent was to be harmless, and of service to his fellow beings. More than anything, he began to understand why his soul had chosen to heal itself through a body that shook and walked with crippled limbs. As the night wore on, punctuated with Benjamin's deep sighing and suppressed sobbing, Yeshua gently placed his arms around the boy's slender body, laying his right hand over the boy's heart. Silently, their consciousness joined as they traveled through the astral planes, gradually lifting burdens of guilt and shame. Set free, Benjamin spiraled upwards into higher dimensions and greater light. They enjoyed a wordless celestial peace as they lay cradled together beneath the witnessing stars and smiling moon. Tears fell from their eyes as they turned to face each other. Benjamin's body no longer shook with palsy. He lifted his hands to look at them in the moonlight. They were no longer twisted. He stood and took a measured step or two. His club foot and twisted legs were straight and could support his full weight. Remembering that it was the time of communal silence, Benjamin suppressed a hosanna and knelt before a smiling Yeshua. Telepathically, he communicated that he would forever be loyal, just as his mother Miriam had promised from her youth. Yeshua gently reminded him to be faithful to his own I am and to live in gratitude for all that life gives each day. So that is a really, really powerful story. And I think being able to access things like the Book of Life, or it's also known as the Akashic Records. So interesting that that's come up, because on my channel, if you've been watching the Edgar Cayce series that I've started with my friend Jennifer, we just released an episode about Edgar Cayce's perspective of the Akashic Records, because that is what he used to access all the information and how he helped to heal people that came to him for help. And it's just so powerful when you tap into that knowledge and understand why you might have certain issues in this life and how they can be related to past lives. I think it is so empowering to have that knowledge. You don't need to know all the details of your past lives. And I also feel like, once you've learnt that information, you don't really need to keep visiting that past life to know more. It's not really important, but I do feel it's very powerful when we just have a brief understanding of, okay, this is why I have a certain fear, or this is why I've got this certain issue or illness, or whatever is going on in your life, certain patterns that keep reoccurring. And just having that knowledge is power. And knowledge is actually transformational and can actually heal. So him just understanding why he had these deformities in his current life was to do with the way he had treated people in the past. And the most important message there is that he had to forgive himself. And I believe forgiveness is so important, not just to forgive the other person out there that may have done you wrong, but also to forgive yourself for allowing things to happen. Because at the end of the day, you have to take responsibility for your life. And whether, sometimes we allow people to treat us badly, not because we're stupid or there's anything wrong with us. It's because we either don't have enough self-worth or think that we're good enough, or perhaps we grew up in a childhood where we were just constantly treated badly. So it's just the norm to us. We don't know any different. Some people out there, it's so sad, but there are people out there that are just abused from day one, and they don't know what it's like to be with somebody that loves them unconditionally. And like, for example, my mum, my mum's a beautiful person, but she didn't love me and my siblings unconditionally because she didn't know how to. And yes, I could be angry at her and blame her for my life and the way things have gone for me. Or I can look at her for compassion and think, well, she couldn't love us unconditionally because she didn't know how to. Her parents didn't love her unconditionally. And the pattern goes on and on. They didn't love her unconditionally and her siblings unconditionally because they didn't know how to. It's just this ongoing pattern. And until somebody in the family line stands up and says, right, I'm going to take responsibility now and I'm going to change things. And that's what I've been trying to do. I have been trying to heal myself and take responsibility so that I can love my daughters unconditionally and give them what I didn't receive. And it's not about blaming anyone. It's not about being angry at anyone. It's just, that's just what I chose to work on in this life. We all have things that we chose to work on. And if we have any particular things in our lives that are extremely challenging and difficult, understanding that maybe we chose that for a particular reason so that we could learn, so that we could have compassion. I mean, sometimes people in a past life have been bullies and horrible to other people. And so then in this life, they might choose to be treated in that way so that they can then have compassion and understand what it's like to be bullied. It's not great. It's not enjoyable, and it doesn't make being treated that way okay in any way at all. But just having that understanding about our past lives can be so powerful and so healing. So I just think what a great story to start off with. And if you are interested in exploring more about your Akashic records, then I have created a short 15-minute meditation to guide you through the process. It's only a short one to begin with because if you're new to going to the Akashics, which I also am because I've not really done that much before, but just practicing the meditation and doing it over and over again, the more you do it, the deeper you'll go and the more information you'll receive. And then I am going to work on making a more extended version so that you can go deeper. But I think it's best to start with the shorter one just to kind of work on it because it's a skill that we have to learn. Any kind of psychic ability, whether it's astral traveling or, being able to see or hear things that other people don't see or hear, like seeing the aura and seeing if there's blockages in the chakras and all that kind of thing. Any of that kind of thing is actually a skill that we can all develop, but it just takes practice. So that's why I created the guided meditation to help people. So if you're interested in that, feel free to check it out on my YouTube channel. Okay, let's continue on. And so it was during those remaining years of Yeshua's ministry, after I had left Mount Carmel to travel with my grandson, that I continued to be one of his personal witnesses. Indeed, I often saw many acts of spiritual power that turned the populace to seek out or to fear my grandson and his close inner circle of disciples. I shall share with you now another recollection of one such memorable day that occurred at Bethesda, the pool of healing waters that was located just outside the sheep gate at Jerusalem. It took place on a Sabbath during the Feast of Tabernacles in the autumn of AD 29. I had come to Jerusalem with my grandson Benjamin, whom Yeshua had recently healed. We were staying with my daughter Mary Anna, her husband Ahmed, and their 3 children, John, Mark, Thomas, and Matthias. They were now living northwest of the Jerusalem temple, not far from the old gate, in the second of Joseph of Arimathea's large homes. We knew that Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, and the other close disciples had returned to Jerusalem from a 7-day retreat in the desert, communing with the brethren of Qumran. It was said that they could be found at the pool of Bethesda. So it was that we gathered ourselves and went forth to the Bethesda pool, where many spontaneous healings had taken place over the centuries. As the tradition of miracles had long promised, so it was this day that the sick, lame, paralyzed, or blind had gathered around Bethesda's 5 porches on their pallets, waiting for the waters to move. The belief was that an angel stirred the waters from time to time, and that whoever entered the pool first, when the waters were moving, would be healed of their affliction. Hence the name Bethesda, which in the Hebrew language means house of mercy. Word had spread all around Palestine about Yeshua's healing powers. And so it was that when he and the disciples came to the pool to refresh themselves, there were some of the afflicted who recognized him and pressed upon him to heal them. Indeed, when we arrived, a multitude of people, rich and poor alike, were waiting their turn to be seen and touched by Yeshua and by his beloved Mary, whose presence stirred their souls as if they were touched by an angel of healing herself. Just imagine what the energy would be like being around these people. I mean, I've heard of people in India and these incredible beings that are just so highly spiritual that you can just feel the energy emanating off of them. I can imagine that's what that Yeshua and Mary and Anna and all of them would be like. As if upon waves, the energy of the throng would gather and ebb, hysterical frenzy followed by a hushed quietude and silent reverence. Yeshua's male disciples had their hands full, maintaining order among the emotional crowd, as they assisted the infirm to come to the place where Yeshua and Mary Magdalene sat beside the pool. The women disciples moved among the afflicted, offering solace and preparation of their souls, so that they could be receptive to the healing energies they might choose to receive. Many questioned among themselves how it was that the young rabbi from Galilee dared to work as a healer on the Sabbath. Ooh. Whispered murmuring could be heard. I recognized that some of those who murmured were Pharisees, and when they suddenly took their leave, I knew Yeshua would be confronted before too long. As is the nature of this world, when the Son of Light comes among humankind, the Son of Darkness comes also. So it seemed that the false belief of duality always created shadowy patterns of fear wherever Yeshua went. I felt uneasy, yet when I looked upon my grandson and granddaughter and observed their calm compassion for these innocents, I too felt a desire that this be a day of healing, regardless of the sanctioned functions that were arbitrarily ordained. And so, forgetting the Pharisees, I joined the other women and turned my attention to those in need. Yeshua took crying babes into his arms, cradled aged and emaciated bodies on his lap, poured oil on the heads of the twisted and infirm, mixed his spittle with clay and placed it on eyes or into ears, all the while speaking gently with those who were being healed. Children stopped crying and the palsied stopped shaking, the lame walked. The deaf heard, the blind saw, and the sick became well. All the while, the healing energy came in waves, as if the angel of Bethesda had stirred the pool water. So it was that the ebb and flow of the healing energy was reflected by the crowd's soft weeping and loud wailing, suppressed highs and uncontrolled laughter, and occasional exclamations of, "Hosanna, the Lord of hosts is among us. Praise be to God most holy." Now, let it be known that it was not Yeshua who did the healing, of course, because we are a channel. He was like a hollow flute through which the higher consciousness could orchestrate and perform these seemingly miraculous events. Before administering to each one, my grandson always paused to commune in the silence, while scanning each supplicate's energy field to determine the metaphysical cause of his or her condition. He communed on the soul level to determine whether a healing was the highest empowerment. That's interesting. I guess I never really thought about that because, when people have the intention to want to heal and help others, which so many of us do, we just want to help others because we don't like seeing others in pain. But I guess it's really important to check in and see whether it's for that person's highest good or not. And even though it might be inconceivable to us human folk, we just think, well, why wouldn't people want to be healed? But I suppose we have to think about people's free will. That's very important too. And maybe a soul doesn't want the person to heal. Maybe sometimes when people are very, very sick with the C word, for example, and they're in hospital and the family members are praying and hoping that the person's going to pull through, but sometimes the soul of that person doesn't want to, and they actually want to pass on because it's their time. Maybe they've completed what they wanted to do. And it's just so hard for us to understand because we love that person so much and we don't want to lose them. And of course, but I suppose that's something very important that we have to keep into consideration. And I think it's also important to consider that sometimes when healings seem like they're not working for somebody, maybe that is because either they're not open to it, they don't believe it's going to work, or maybe their soul has a higher reason for it not working. Because, of course, there are many skeptics out there that just say that quantum healing, energy healing is just a load of rubbish and it's a waste of time and money. And that's fine. They don't have to be open to it. It's just not part of their journey in this life. And that's fine. I don't really have a problem. I know that it works for me because I've always been open-minded to it. And I've been having energy healings for, nearly probably like 17 years now. And I've also learned how to heal myself energetically. And I know that it works, and I've seen it work, and I've seen it work on people that I've helped to heal as well. But I also know that it's not me doing the work. And I also know that I generally only work with people that are open to it. I don't ever force it on. I don't even talk about the stuff that I do to majority of people, because if they're not open to it, I don't want to waste my time or theirs. I also don't want to go over their free will. I mean, it's just, some things are just not right for some people, and there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, but I just think that's very interesting to note that. Then he empathetically tuned into the supplicant's heart to discover whether she or he was willing to lay aside the heavy stone of grievance that created the disease. He looked to see if it was an equally measured resonance with the healing power of divine love that was concentrated in Yeshua's heart and auric field. Only when there was an affirmative response to each of these queries did he proceed. He began by holding each outpictured soul in its perfected wholeness, no matter how deformed or diseased the body appeared to be. Next, he aligned himself with the overlighting angels of manifestation and tuned into the intelligence of the soul manifesting through the various axiotonal grids of the physical and subtle bodies. After merging with the soul's lattice matrices and assessing the soul's blueprint for this incarnation, he then inwardly struck a resonant series of inward tones, sometimes heard by the physical ears. How fascinating that this is how he healed. These vibrations reverberated through the congested organs, tissues, and bones until all terror, grief, and rage were embraced and transmuted. Wow, that is amazing. Gradually, he lifted those discordant and incoherent, fear-based energies into love's coherent expression of harmony. Skillfully projecting light, sound, and color, he cleansed and purified the aura. Holding each individual in innocence, there was a release of fear. With the letting go of fear, there was room to breathe. And with each relaxed, connected breath, the perception of time and space expanded into greater awareness of the eternal presence of love. Through co-created harmonic resonance, the divine healer who dwells in every heart worked miracles through Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, and the other initiated disciples. No wonder the Romans were so threatened by Yeshua and his disciples, because they were so powerful. And the thing is, we all have this power in us. It's just skills that we need to learn if we want to. It was my grandson's and granddaughter's alignment together in unity with the law of one, which made it possible for the emancipating love energy to flow. What appeared to be a miracle caused by the transmission of a power from an external source was, in truth, a self-healing in the flow of oneness. There was a shift in ordinary perception of limitation as time and space expanded into the unlimited quantum realms. Mastery of the physical and spiritual planes comes when there is an alignment with universal laws. Miracles manifest when there is a matching resonance with love and the vibrational harmonics of creation. Therefore, healing only occurs when the individual on some level consciously accepts, feels, and becomes one with coherent love energy as it concentrates all around and through their body, mind, and soul. In that instant of merging with divine love, the entombed indwelling Christ rises into conscious awareness. The question then becomes, can the era of misperceived separation / disease, dis-ease, continue to fall away? And the newly emerged Christ remain in one's conscious choice for well-being? While many were healed, others continued to stumble and fall into the ditch of forgetfulness, grievance, and the familiar return of disease. As the shadows of a long day lengthened, and Yeshua and his close disciples were preparing to leave the Bethesda pool, a temple priest accompanied by a group of Pharisees angrily confronted him after elbowing his way through the milling crowd. By what authority are you doing with these things? Calls ill people things. The priest demanded in a harsh voice that was curdled with malevolence. Gazing directly into his eyes, Yeshua calmly replied, I do not seek my own will, but the will of my Father who sent me. The Son does nothing of his own accord, but only that which his Father shows him. It is my Father, Mother, the birther of the cosmos, who does these works that you see. I have come in the name of my heavenly parents. But you do not receive me because you do not acknowledge your own sonship in God the Father, nor do you feel the love of Mother God, who gives you breath. He who does not honor the Son that he truly is, does not honor the Father, Mother who sent him. Wow, what beautiful words. Shaken but unmoved, the temple priest persisted in his attempts to intimidate my grandson. I just love how he responded, not with anger, not with disgust, not with judgment, but he just simply shared the truth. And this is what happens when you do work on yourself, when you heal yourself. I mean, look, I'm not perfect. I have still so much work I need to do on myself. But you know, this is what healing does. It allows people to respond with compassion and kindness and speak truth instead of judgment and fear and rejecting anything that just doesn't align with your beliefs. He ignored Mary Magdalene with contempt as she courageously stood beside her beloved. She must have been so brave. Then with a shrill voice, the priest shouted, Don't you know that it is against the law of Moses to do healing work on the Sabbath? Unperturbed by the hostility of this one who had assumed the role of adversary, Yeshua replied, Who among you would fail to respond if your servant fell into a well or removed your ox smeared in quicksand on the Sabbath? The Sabbath was made for man, not man made for the Sabbath. If you truly believe in Moses, then you would believe in me because he wrote about me. But if you do not believe his writings, how will you believe my words? You search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life. I tell you, he who hears my words and believes in my Father who sent me and my mother who sustains me, it is he who shall pass from death into life everlasting. Saying no more, Yeshua motioned to his mother with his hand and telepathically communicated that he would meet her in Bethany. Then he, Mary Magdalene, and his 24 close disciples took up their traveling bundles and made their way down the terrace steps. When Mary, Anna, and I took our leave a few minutes later, the Pharisees and the temple priest were still arguing among themselves. Joseph of Arimathea met us at the sheep gate with 3 donkey carts for the short journey to Bethany, where we joyfully celebrated the Feast of Tabernacles with an abundance of savoury dishes that had been prepared for us by Martha. Thus I have shared with you another of the many examples that reaffirm my grandson's and indeed my granddaughter's demonstration of what it means to be a Christ. In doing so, I have pointed you in the direction of that great healing light that reveals the eternally open door to the kingdom of heaven that is within you. Now, my beloved friend, you stand at the open door that leads you into the healing waters within your own house of mercy. Will you, in a moment of effortless spontaneity, enter in? He who showed the way has said, I do not seek my own will, but the will of my Father who sent me. The Son does nothing of his own accord, but only that which his Father shows him. It is my Father who does these works that you see. It is by my mother's grace that you receive them. He also said, he who chooses to save his life shall lose it, whereas he who chooses to lose his life will save it. So I ask you once again, my beloved, will you exchange your small life of separation so that you may fulfill your greater part? By aligning your heart, mind, and soul with the Father, Mother of life, you may freely claim the life you truly seek. Know that you are never alone, nor the obstacles too great. Though at times the journey of the Christ will seem too difficult to bear, remember you will experience the beloved of your soul as your inner shepherd who nurtures and protects you. You will walk in life's green pastures as long as you acknowledge and align your will with your indwelling good shepherd's rod and staff that eternally connects you with the source of your being. So it is that the eternal presence of Yeshua, as your friend and brother, will reflect back to you your internal good shepherd who cares for you each day. Perhaps unseen, yet often felt when you still your mind, Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, Mary Anna, and I are all closer than you think. Know that we are ever present, applauding the progress you make. We will never interfere, for you are the Lord of your life, which is your kingdom. Your free will choice is always honoured, and your individual sovereignty is esteemed. And if, in an eternal moment now, you choose to come face to face with the God of love, our co-created purpose shall be fulfilled. It actually just makes me really emotional, and I feel quite silly, but since I've read this book, I have really felt the presence of Anna and Mary Magdalene. I mean, I felt the presence of Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene years ago, but I'm just feeling it so much more strongly these days, and Yeshua as well. And I just have the most utmost respect for all of them. And I really truly believe that they are all there on the other side, just because we can't see them or hear them or touch them. I know that they are helping any of us that choose to ask for their help. And we can do this, like we can tap into the Christ consciousness, and we can become like Yeshua and like Mary Magdalene and like Anna and Mother Mary and all of the Essene community. We can be like them, and we can make this world a better place. We don't have to suffer anymore. We just have to make the choice to go within. We have to stop looking outside all the time and blaming other people for what's not working in our lives. We have to go within and connect with these amazing beings that want to help us and ask for their help to do this. And I'm just so inspired by them to be the best version that I can be. And I want to help as many people that I possibly can with the knowledge that I share. And I think, whatever's meant to be will be, but I'm going to keep working at this. I'm going to keep working at my YouTube channel, and I'm going to keep bringing people knowledge. And I just trust that whoever's meant to receive it will find me. Okay, let's move on to chapter 36, a message of hope. During this time of great chaos, as most of humanity feels despondency and despair, it is vital to instill courage and hope. Not just a hope that is founded upon intellectual inquiry or childish fantasy, but a courageous experience of the greater power and eternal life in which certain trust and expectation of something better can be fully grounded. From a more expanded viewpoint, you may, on a very personal level, bring Yeshua's and Mary Magdalene's eternal example of forgiving, empowering love into your present choices and life's experiences. Through doing so, you can effect harmonious change in the world and midwife the earth into the next golden age of peace. A peace that passes understanding because it fully comforts what has felt comfortless through the power of the divine feminine heart. Have you, my friend, found a belief in yourself and in a higher source of love that encourages you to live fully in this world and not be hopeless and despairing? The way back to hope always follows an adjustment of perception and attitude. That is so true. An ability to align with the Divine Mother's capacity to acknowledge and feel emotion without judgment or reactivity. I'm still working on that one. When there is appreciation, forgiveness, and reclaimed innocence, there is courage and hope to live in coherent patterns of love, regardless of the chaos all around. What I now offer you is a model or paradigm from which to view Yeshua's and your initiations, while being in the midst of chaotic planetary crucifixion and resurrection. This is a new model of coherency dynamics based on the science of quantum mechanics and chaos theory. In your day, there is research being done that indicates that a person's well-being and actual state of health is enhanced when his or her mind, emotions, and body are in harmonious relationship with one another. A coherent energy field. And man, you just got to watch a Joe Dispenza video and there's scientific proof of that. Those involved in this research have found that the most coherent field is subjectively called love and appreciation. Oh, actually, that makes me think Gregg, Bradden, who I absolutely love as well, he's written a really fantastic book about this. He went to visit some monks, I think, in Tibet, and he came across this nun, I believe, and she was like well over 100 years old. And, he asked her, what's your secret to life, to living for so long? And just love and happiness and appreciation. It's just so beautiful. I will find that book and I will put it in the show notes below if you're interested. When discordant, limiting time-space perception shifts into quantum holistic awareness, spacious, embracing love and appreciation, there is healing or re-established order, balance, and wholeness. Another way to look at this is to see crucifixion, resurrection, and ascension as those processes that return incoherence to coherency. You may choose to use this new perspective as an opportunity to liberate yourself from unquestioned blind beliefs that have kept you ignorant and fearful. Some would call my coherency model of crucifixion and resurrection heretical, and some would call blasphemous what I will share with you about my interdimensional understanding of Yeshua's experiences. While what I offer is a kind of expose, in order to unveil what has been hidden, it is most definitely not intended to replace one truth or dogma with another. My intention is to shake old limiting thought forms and to awaken more coherent, self-empowering and loving ways to be in relationship with your Creator, yourself, and your neighbors. Today's ascension process that brings about global patterns of coherency or unity does not require going behind cloistered walls or taking prolonged sanctuary with master teachers, as we did in the old paradigm. It's interesting because Gigi Young, she's got an amazing channel and talks a lot about this. And she explains that before the crucifixion happened, we were in a different time and kind of frequency, and certain rituals and initiations that were done back then, and even magic and even black magic as well. All of those things worked in a different way back then. But then since Christ came and taught us all how to tap into our Christ consciousness, which is within us, we're actually in a different time and frequency now. So things work differently. And so I think that matches up with what Anna's saying here, that we don't have to go through the same initiations that they did back then, like 2,000 years ago. We can do it in a different way today because we're in a different frequency. Mother Earth and your life is your empowerment school. You have all kinds of support available to help you attain your self-mastery. There is the loving support of your ascending Earth Mother, awakening peers, books, seminars, alternative healing modalities, and a broad synthesis of what works, distilled from many spiritual paths. There is also assistance to be received from the incoming children who bring their immense love and mastery to the earth plane. Although unseen, you may also receive guidance from ascended masters and angels. Your initiatory experiences will most likely be different from Yeshua's, such as being nailed to a cross. But in essence, they are similar. Before we explore this further, let me offer a fuller explanation of what I mean by initiation. An initiation is that inner directed experience that takes you over the threshold of irreversible change. In the initiations of resurrection and ascension, your former limited identity transforms into a more expansive awareness of inherent potential. This is illustrated in the transformational initiatory process demonstrated by the butterfly that emerges into a new life, resurrected from its crucified caterpillar life. As you read the following 5 aspects of initiation that could be affecting your own life, please ask yourself which ones seem to have a personal meaning for you today. Number 1, a marked attitudinal change that brings a committed willingness to align limited consciousness with a higher will and purpose. Number 2, physical changes in which toxins are cleared and dormant DNA codes, endocrine glands, brain, and neurological functions are activated, all of which result in enhanced health and increased potential for demonstrating paranormal abilities. Number 3, emotional clearing and greater emotional maturity and stability. Number 4, changes in self-perception in which there is a greater sense of divinity, sovereignty, interconnectedness, heightened creativity, and/or superconscious abilities such as telepathy and clairvoyance. Number 5, more identification with the spacious, unified quantum realms, instead of only perceiving and reactively dramatizing the limiting transitory idea of being a separate mind located in a separate body. Having reviewed these various aspects of initiation, are you seeing any of these initiatory benchmarks showing up in your own life? I definitely am. What are your reactions to your present day transformational initiations? Well, for me, it's definitely a relief, because that feels a lot more doable than having to go into the Great Pyramid and being locked in a cave in the darkness for days on end. So yeah, pretty cool. There has been much misunderstanding about the nature of crucifixion and resurrection. However, these are the foundational initiations of empowerment that anyone who chooses union in God experiences. I offer you my perspective in order to bring clarity and to motivate more empowering choices. Christ's ascension cannot be understood until the initiations of crucifixion and resurrection are recognized as those transformational events that may be already occurring in your life. Have you, at one time or another, believed that crucifixion equals suffering, usually as a way for paying back a debt, original sin, guilt, or shame? I think most of us have, because that's kind of how we've been brought up, thanks to the dogmatic church. Do you insist that Yeshua, in order to be the Christ, must have suffered and died in order to redeem a fallen world? What feelings come up for you when you contemplate the Son of God suffering on the cross? Well, any of us that have watched The Passion of the Christ by Mel Gibson, I mean, that was brutal. I went to the cinema with my mum years ago when that came out, back when we were talking. I spent the whole time bawling my eyes out. It was horrific. And I only watched it that one time, and I don't ever want to watch it again. What if Yeshua did not suffer? What if he did not die? What if his crucifixion was simply a demonstration of how you can align your will with divine will, release all attachment to a limited identity, and open the way to being the radiant one you already are? Not the false self you think you are, entombed in the material world, but the self who is looking and breathing through the mask of pretense. Wow. Are you ready to take Jesus and yourself off the cross of endless suffering? Are you ready to shift your focus into resurrecting your consciousness into enlightened states of happiness, joy, and bliss, instead of justifying why you feel betrayed, abandoned, trapped, helpless, and hopeless? Are you ready to take back your power instead of blindly giving it to mediating priesthoods, saints, and teachers, or unquestioned limiting beliefs? When it is time to allow growth and expansion for your inner authority and divinity, are you willing to fly free of self-imposed prisons that were the structures and teachers that once served you? If your answer to these provocative questions is yes, then I genuinely celebrate with you. Once you understand that Yeshua learned from his youth how to pass through crucifixion, in brackets, dying to limitation, and resurrection, in brackets, aligning with eternal life and original innocence, you can begin to allow for the possibility that he did not suffer to pay for any form of debt. As you recall what I have shared with you about the rite of the sepulchre, you can also begin to understand that he did not die, even though all his vital signs ceased to support his physical body for a time. Just let that sink in. Having mastered the physical and subtle realms throughout his life, Yeshua did not suffer in the gruesome way that you may have been taught, or that some subconscious part of you may insist that he did. He did not die for your sins. He lived to model love and forgiveness, so that you could choose to live by the same qualities he demonstrated. I encourage you to let go of the idea that transformation, change, and detaching from the nails of limitation or crucifixion has to be a hard struggle, full of tragic drama and fraught with suffering. As you allow your separated consciousness to die into unity consciousness, you may pass much more easily through your crucifixion initiation into resurrecting and ascending yourself as a living Christ. You may well ask, why did Yeshua and his close male and female disciples travel long distances to the mystery schools of Palestine, Egypt, and India in order to participate in arduous initiatory experiences? My experience was that the mystery schools and being in cloistered community provided the necessary support my peers and I required so that we could embody immortality and ascension while living in a disbelieving, dense outer world that was fixated on fear, mortality, suffering, and separation. Just as it was important for us to feel supported in our process of ascending our consciousness, so it is likewise important for you to gather the tangible, harmonious support of friends and family who encourage your spiritual growth. Perhaps as you have read about Yeshua's and my family's extraordinary spiritual abilities and experiences in my story, you have felt as though you could never accomplish what we did because we were more special, genetically endowed, and more deserving than you are. However, if you distance us from yourself by thinking you are less or unworthy, you cannot bring our example and message of hope into your life. The truth is that all of life is equally endowed, even though external appearances seem to indicate otherwise. At this point, I would also re-emphasize that there is no one outside of your own divine self who will save you or who will take away those empowering experiences your soul desires you to have. That's right, we have to save ourselves. Especially those challenging experiences that empower your ability to know and express enlightened love. The fact is, you would most likely be angry with anyone you allowed to interfere with your sovereignty and your innate ability to attain all or any portion of what Yeshua demonstrated. In whatever way you are choosing to be more loving, kind, forgiving, honest, and generous, you are realizing what it means to live as a Christ. When your consciousness has a very literal knowing that you are Creator expressing in all forms and beyond all forms, your consciousness has been Christed. You are the spiritual path you walk, and you cannot get off your path. If you would desire your way to be a path of expanding spirituality, then consistent commitment, discipline, and mindfulness is required. Witnessing thoughts, emotions, and actions, while aligning your human will with divine will, your divine Father. Your path also becomes more spiritual when you come into alignment with divine love, your divine mother. This happens when you are having experiences in which you can literally feel love expressing in and through you as expanding, embracing, uplifting energy. Any devotional practice that helps you to experience humility, being open to love, wonderment, original innocence, allowance, and forgiveness facilitates intimacy with your divine heart, the gentle, merciful heart of the Mother of Life. Just as you may have felt yourself re-experiencing many of the scenes I have already shared with you, so may you also find yourself walking with Yeshua in my story's remaining chapters. To assist you to more easily integrate what may yet be catalyzed, I desire to offer you a perspective or model from which to view Yeshua's crucifixion and resurrection. In this way, you can empower your own initiatory processes. The way to gain a clearer alternative view is to imagine yourself seated comfortably and safely on a high platform inside a large theatre. From this high place, you can easily look down on the entirety of an expansive stage below, from which you can see Jerusalem, Gethsemane, and Calvary. Once you have shifted your normal, perhaps fixated orientation that has seen only a portion of what is happening on the stage below, you may begin to see aspects of the drama that you missed before. In addition to experiencing a greater fullness of what is happening below, I encourage you to look all around you. From this heightened perspective, you can behold a most beautiful scene filled with peaceful people and all manner of life thriving together in harmony. This is where Yeshua and his disciples were focused, even though we appeared to be with the hysterical crowds who were enacting the discordant drama below. This all-inclusive perspective that includes numerous levels above and below is how enlightened beings such as Yeshua live life. Yeshua knew he was all of it. The interdimensional actors, including the stage roles, settings, audiences, and the compassionate, though detached, coordinating director who was positioned above it all. From this perspective, it is easy to note that there is more happening than one may have previously thought to be true. What Yeshua and his close disciples had the ability to do was to be on the stage where most of the intense action played out, while also being aware of more subtle realities or dimensions above, simultaneously expressing other potentialities. Wow. In other words, Yeshua exemplified being in the world but not of it. Within which of these levels do you feel most at home? Below on the stage or in the peaceful realm Yeshua experienced? Are you finding yourself choosing to place your awareness more often into the coherent realm of love and appreciation? Think of a time when you felt hopeless, helpless, sad, angry, or afraid? How long did you stay in it? How do you go about regaining peace of mind, hope, and courage for daily living when you have lost it? Can you do what Yeshua did by being above it? An interdimensional director of the play of your life? Please understand, my beloved friend, that you are not left here alone and comfortless. Choose to be connected. That's the key. And when the dark night of the soul persists, do not resist the birthing process, but find some way to relax into the divine love that you already are. I'm just blown away because this is exactly what I have been learning by David Guillaume on YouTube. I've been watching his YouTube channel since just before Christmas. And I think I've explained in a previous video how the way he explains Kabbalah has just completely changed my life. I'd heard of Kabbalah before, but I was never really too interested in it. And I wasn't sure whether it was good or not. And I wasn't sure whether it was a religion or not. But the way David Guillaume explains it, just in really simple layman's terms, is that it's not a religion, it's just a philosophy, a way of life that complements any religion or spiritual beliefs that you may have. So you can just add it on to whatever you already believe in. And I love the way that he explains things. And the reason why it's been so transformational for me is because as somebody who has suffered with depression and anxiety really badly in my life, to the point where I have been in bed for days and have not talked to people and not wanted to be here anymore, what he has taught is just so profound. I am finding that I'm getting through difficult times in my life in minutes, even sometimes just hours, instead of days or weeks when, I just feel like I'm having a full breakdown. And because what he teaches is that when you have those dark night of the soul moments, it sounds ridiculous, but you need to say, this is good, this is great, this is an opportunity, because this is an opportunity to grow and to transform. We don't grow in the light because it's already light. When things are going great in our lives, it's because we've already achieved some growth, and it's like a reward for the growth that we've done so far. When we are in the darkness, that is when you can grow and you can transform. And if you can be strong enough to change your thoughts and to just choose to respond instead of react. When we react, we get angry in the moment. We lose our temper at our children, or we fight with our partner, or we put our rude finger up at the person that's just driven in front of us and cut us off. Or we can choose to respond and say, okay, this is good. Okay, I don't have enough money in my bank right now to pay my bills, but this is good because this means that I can now grow. I can now transform. I can now build trust and certainty in the Creator and trust that the Creator is going to take care of me, that enough money to pay my rent or my bills is going to come through to me. Or, this horrible time I'm going through with my child, I'm going to come up with a solution through the Creator. I'm going to ask the Creator for help, or the angels, or God, or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. But the point is that you ask for help, and then the Creator will bring that help to you. It might be through a YouTube video that you happen to come across. You might come across a book. A friend might say something to you that just helps to resolve the issue that you've got with your child, or any issue that you've got going on in your life. And it sounds crazy, and it's taken me months to do it because it was quite hard at first. It's like, seriously, how can I I feel like I can't get through this. How can I just say that this is good? That just seems absolutely ridiculous. But I just kept practicing at it. And now I'm doing it in minutes. Like the other day, I just felt like everything was going wrong. My tire popped for like the 4th time in the last couple of years. I'm like, are you kidding me? Seriously? Like right now, I'm sitting on the side of the road and I'm crying because I'm like, why is this happening again? And then I just sat there and I calmed myself down and I breathed and I said, this is good. I've hit rock bottom on the side of the road. And this means that I can now transform. So thank you, Creator, for this opportunity. Now I'm going to sound like an absolute nut job to somebody if I said that out loud to them. But seriously, within minutes, I was feeling better. And then my daughter and I just sat and watched a funny show on her on her phone while we waited for the guy to come and change the tire over for us. And the rest of the day ended up being fine. Whereas I could have chosen to just be stuck in this moment and just been like, you know, this always happens to me. Things always go wrong for me. You know, I could have just gone on and on and on for days. But I didn't. I chose to practice this process. And it's the same thing that Anna's talking about right here. And if Yeshua can do it on a cross, then I'm sure we can handle it when we don't have enough money in our bank account, or we're having an argument with our partner, or we've lost our job, or we've got no money to pay for the bills. Yes, those things suck, but at least we're not getting nailed to a cross. So if he can do it, we can do it. Anyways, I'll link David Guillem's channel below if you're interested in hearing what he has to say, but I highly recommend listening to him. Okay. I now offer you 2 simple practices that may assist you to be in the world but not of it, as you pass through your crucifixion, resurrection, and ascension initiations. Find a quiet place in which to be seated comfortably. Putting your awareness in your present breath, be centered completely in the now. There is no pondering of the past or peering into the future. In the present instant of breathing, you can step easily into the truth of eternal being. You and your breath are one continuous, uninterrupted flow of divine love. Know that you are allowing and expressing love as powerfully as did Mary Anna, Yeshua, and Mary Magdalene. With every breath in the now, and then consciously step across the veil of disbelief. Come to know by feeling the energy of expanded love and light that you are a realized, enlightened Christ Magdalene in balanced wholeness of masculine and feminine energy. It is simply a matter of choosing to be more aware of where you are placing attention. A word to the wise: this exercise does not sidestep the crucifixion initiation. Understand that this direct action, when it is experienced with consistent repetition, may result in the transformation, in brackets crucifixion, of your limited identity as you thought yourself to be, and your limited life's expression as you have lived it. Your ego, focused in a physical body, cannot stop your soul's inevitable spiritual growth, even if death of the body is required for its liberation. Whether you experience your soul's endless growth as suffering depends on how and where you are holding your consciousness. Mastering this exercise is not for the purpose of leaving the opportunities for growth on the earth plane behind. It does not remove you from all the joy of practicing being divine love, embracing and ascending all your consciousness, including your body. Although only you can step across the threshold of disbelief into the realization that you are a mighty I am, fully presenting yourself as a Christ, you are not alone while receiving the support you require. You are not alone when you realize the many opportunities that you have to share and express the power of your love with others. Remember, where two or more are gathered, there I am. Don't underestimate the power of unified prayer in action. I will now share another simple exercise that was taught to Yeshua by his parents and grandparents. If you do not already have an ascension practice, I offer you this simple spiritual exercise that may assist you to let go of attachment to separation, agendas that armor you against completely feeling and expressing divine love, your creator as you. Begin with 5 minutes a day, choosing to step into the resurrecting Christ conscious being you already are. Not trying to ascend, but actually feeling the energy shifting as you align with your I am. Then act from that empowered, kind, forgiving, and gracious place of resurrected love. When you can sustain 5 minutes of being fully present with love, flowing unhindered through you, benefiting life within and around you, add another 5 minutes until you can do 3 increments of 5 minutes each day. Then stretch the 5 minutes to 10 and so on, until you are effortlessly living the truth of your being in every now moment, day and night. Throughout his life, Yeshua continued to choose to step into the true kingdom of his I am, until every cell in his body knew and accepted union with its creator. In this simple, direct way, Yeshua simultaneously passed through crucifixion, resurrection, and ascension, and so can you. Prepared with this new lens through which to view the greatest story ever told, we will now enter the weeks of Yeshua's life, when he demonstrated to the world how to become a realized, ascended Christ. As he exemplified the truth of eternal life and the power of love, so did many of his beloved disciples, and so may you in this day. You are in an initiation process that is assisting you to be a willing and loving participant in a cosmic and global divine plan. My beloved friend, take notice. The very purpose for which you have taken birth is now happening. Wow, what a powerful chapter. I'm going to have to leave it there because I do have to get on with some other things today. But the next chapter is chapter 37, The Storm Gathers. And that's going to be an interesting couple of chapters to read. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found this as empowering as I did. And I really hope that if you like it, please share in the comments below. Please let me know what you thought of this episode and enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you next time. Thanks for joining me. Bye.